Hey guys, how's it going? Firebox here. There is some more drama. Of course, every day is something new with Iron Mace and SDF, and I'm here to talk about it. So, SDF in SDF's Kitchen, if you're not aware, he is the lead developer of Dark and Darker, who makes most of the decisions, really probably all of the decisions that are done to Dad. And he mentioned two very important things in the kitchen. The first thing is that he doubles down on the solos and duos being removed for next season. He seems very adamant that this is the move forward that he wants to do. He has no intentions of going back on what he said about removing these modes. So if there's any of you out there who are still holding on to the hope that he might change his mind and flip-flop to the other side to not removing solo and duo, I wouldn't blame you because SDF is known for flip-flopping constantly. Yeah, he's probably not doing that. It looks very, very likely that it is going to be removed, confirmed for next season. Also, their inventory guy, apparently they have one singular inventory guy in their entire company, is gone now. He left the company. And this means that things like quivers are being delayed. The thing that we've been waiting years for is being further delayed. It's kind of funny sounding. Not really sure what to think about this comment at all, considering SCF is the guy that hires these employees, presumably. And I would think that he's part of the decision to only have one singular guy in the entire company that can do something like quivers, which already sounds kind of weird to me. With all of this said, I'm going to go ahead and read you all of the information that SDF released to us since yesterday at 10:30 a.m. and then we'll do a little bit of discussion about what he said. So he starts off in test 11, we conducted internal testing using gear with random modifiers to evaluate the actual gear gap created by primary attributes, the white stats. We confirm that the gear gap remains significant. For example, Warlord tier players using rare items struggled to defeat or only narrowly match players in the 1900 to 21 rating range who were equipped with legendary gear. This is largely due to the relatively large disparities that still exist in weapon damage and armor rating. While one might argue that this is simply highlights a lack of skill expression when placed in an equal gear environment, Warlord tier groups won overwhelmingly. A similar test was conducted internally during patch 69, but at that time the primary goal was to examine the gap caused by random modifiers. This time I wanted to completely remove them and verify the results once more. Moving forward, we would like to continue narrowing these gaps, such as these mentioned above, until they align with our intended balance. Additionally, in line with my original design intentions, we plan to adjust the base health of fighter, who represents the average stats across the board, to 100 HP. We will also be adjusting the health scaling curve to ensure that high vigor does not result in excessively high HP. Accordingly, if weapon damage, skills, and spells deal disproportionately high damage under this new system, we plan to make appropriate adjustments. One of the biggest issues with current random modifier system is that even the lowest possible value for certain attributes is still too high. Because of this, other attributes are adjusted to match that high baseline, which leads to overall inflated values. When these inflated stats are spread across 11 gear slots, each potentially having 4 or 5 modifier lines, it results in excessive gear gap. When the multi-line random modifier system is certainly fun and adds variety, we decided to shift that kind of diversity towards perk and skills instead. Going forward, we plan to test a more restrained version of the system in order to better control gear balance. So ultimately, I think the only thing I want to say for this is I don't understand why this entire season that we've had started with increasing the stats across the board for all gear pieces. I don't understand why we have 2% movement speed on, your chest piece, why we have plus all, why we have uniques with plus 4 true, plus 4 all. I don't understand why across the board all the stats were increased the way they were if SDF doesn't want gear gap in his game, he only made it worse from last season, so it's really confusing. It just, I don't know if it's him flip-flopping from wanting the better gear and then changing his mind and not saying anything about it or what. It's really confusing to me. It's just his decisions don't match what it seems like he wants, and this happens a lot for really all of the patches Dad seems to get. Now onto the solo duo. I am sorry, I fully understand the concerns of solo and duo players. Well, I don't think he does, by the way. However, I believe that for the game to truly move forward, the goal should be to have solo, duo, and trio queues work smoothly together within a single instance, as I mentioned earlier. Within this mixed queue system, we will implement all indirect systems that help players enjoy playing even with unbalanced parties. On the other hand, we will gradually remove the artificial features that were necessary to separate players into different queues or brackets based on their player type or the amount of time they invest in the game. Accordingly, we decided not to use the current system where interaction times change depending on conditions. This feature was created temporarily to address complaints in 3v3 situations where players wearing expensive gear would kill an opponent and chase the remaining enemies, but then the defeated player's corpse stolen happened with other players. However, I believe that after a player killing occurs, protecting the corpse and looting the body being stolen from other players should be strategic choice. I also believe this can increase the survival chance of a party that has lost a member and creates 1v3 situations. I believe that for the mixed queue system to succeed, players must have ways to escape even when being chased in combat, and a various form of 1v3 situations should be possible. Therefore, we will bring back the fast opening fixed escapes that was tested early in the CMM, and if the circle hinders this playstyle, it will be removed. To explain the background behind the reintroduction of the circle, when we introduced PvE and divided normal and HR into various brackets, our goal was to offer a more casual environment for casual players and a more hardcore environment for hardcore players. At the time, many hardcore players suffering from crow players, I think he means rat players, those who would enter with minimal gear and play like hyenas, so we aimed to create an environment where those players would struggle to thrive and where well-equipped high-tier players would have to compete with one another to survive. However, for the time being, I do not plan to artificially create or enforce controlled environments. Therefore, if the circle, which forces PvP in mixed queue environment, hinders the vision, it will be removed. Okay, so there's a few things to talk about here. Number one, how many times are we going to add and remove the circle in Dark and Darker? We had the circle, then we removed it, and most people liked that decision. Then we're going to reintroduce the circle if it hinders the new vision. It's just confusing. I don't know. Originally, when the circle first got added back to the game, I actually didn't mind it, but the more I played with it, the worse it felt, especially when trying to boss. So I personally am on the fence of I think circle should not be in Dark and Darker, personally. Originally, when it first came, I thought it was okay, and it's not terrible, but I really think at this point, the circle had been gone for so long, I don't think flip-flopping back to circle really was the right play. So I don't know what the plan is. At this point, I think they should just remove the circle and just be done with it and never bring it back. And just call it a day, but I'm sure that won't happen. I'm sure something else will go on here. Also, the crow players or the rat players he's talking about, there was a whole controversy forever ago, months and months ago, where like rat rogues would go into trio lobbies, would smoke pot dead bodies, and would try to rat or steal players' loot from not just streamers, but streamers were the people that were complaining, the trio streamers. So there was an entire patch made to make it so looting those bodies took longer to stop those rats from, looting the bodies of the streamer trios. It's a little bit weird seeing these comments because I know that they made that decision based on those streamers. So I guess they're going to change their mind on that as well moving forward. presumably. Also, I do not think that SDF understands the concerns of solo and duo players. I don't think SDF knows how to balance his game in a way where solos and duos will ever be able to consistently fight trio players. I am welcome to be proven wrong in the probably very distant future, so we can remember this conversation if you want. But I personally do not think this is going to work. I think this is going to lead to the game dying among all the other reasons the game is currently dying anyway. But yeah, I really don't think this is going to work personally. And finally, honestly the joke of the kitchen. On a side note, there's some sad news. Our inventory guy left the company. As a result, features like inventory sorting, search functions, and additional bags and quivers will be delayed for the time being. You might find this surprising, as do I, that even with around 80 people that have joined and left the company, there's currently no one to take over this task. But that's the reality we're facing. We're thinking hard about how to address this gap so we can ease your inconvenience as soon as possible. I'm deeply sorry. This feels like a joke. To my knowledge, SDF is either the person that hires, or he's a lead. Like, he at least knows about the hires at the company. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but to my knowledge, I think he's directly part of the hiring process. And here we are. He only has one singular inventory guy at the entire company, and he doesn't know. He's surprised that there's only one inventory guy, that there's no one to replace him. Meanwhile, the inventory guy in years hasn't been able to make inventory sorting, search functions, bags, quivers, like all this stuff just never made its way into the game. I just don't understand. I have no idea what's going on here. It's really it's all so confusing, man. It's crazy. I've never seen a lead developer in a game as big as Dark and Darker go on schizo rants like this. It's making the community really lose all their faith they ever had in this company. And that's not even talking about all the other stuff going on, like the not like this video that released, or videos that released, that really like turned the tides of the community to even more negative, if that was even possible, what they are now. Not to mention, the reviews for this game are also very negative. We're down to 34%, by the way. If this isn't a wake-up call to Iron Mace, I don't know what will be. At what point are they going to wake up and realize that everything they're doing is going to kill this game off for good? I don't know. I also did my part and gave a negative review for the removal of duos and solos. And of course, wanting to remove PvE after releasing it. It all feels really scummy to me. So I gave my part. I also barely play this game anymore. I mean, you can see here, I played 12 hours in the last 2 weeks, most of which were early on in those 2 weeks, and a few hours when I'm doing video content and from stream. It's like I'm barely playing this game anymore. I basically stopped completely. So I'm doing my part in not contributing towards this game outside of, content that I make for you guys to give you up-to-date news on what Iron Mace is doing. So that's going to be it. Thank you all for watching this video, and hopefully we can actually get some good news for Dark and Darker sometime soon, but I doubt it. If you liked the video, give it a like, subscribe for future content, and I do plan to play more extraction games other than Dark and Darker on my channel soon. I know Arc Raiders is rumored to come out soon. Not to mention we have Midnight Walkers, Vault Breakers coming out at the end of this month. Maybe even Dungeon Stalkers we'll try out. So hopefully I'll see you there. And that's all. Thank you all. Have a good day.